be the paying and non-paying from other agencies. Because currently, sir, for example, I'll give you one scenario in the ground. We have this supposed to be mandatory membership for senior citizen. But in the system of the PhilHealth, makikita nyo po, merong mga senior citizens na lifetime member na pero nakakasama pa rin doon sa mandatory law ng senior citizen. And then we have this mga PWDs.
Yes, yes.
Pero nakakasama pa rin, hindi siya nagbe-benefit doon sa mandatory coverage of the primary members.
Yes,
so, the data from other agencies can help the PhilHealth.
Yeah, I don't see how that will help. So if you're not in the database, so before they provide any protection to you or insurance coverage, they will have to look at the data of the PSA. They will have to look at the data of the BIR. They will have to look at the data of the national ID system, which is wala pa naman yan sa ngayon. I think that later on, you know, we've gone through this also, and maybe when we get to the issue of senior citizens, we can discuss that point because we have ideas, no? But I think the statement should be good enough that every Filipino citizen shall be automatically included. Wala nang, in effect, I think the need for the PCA is for research, for additional policy later on. As far as membership to PhilHealth is concerned, all paying members, today as it is, will have a coverage. And then non-paying members may coverage this. So, dapat may listahan ng PhilHealth who are the paying members. They don't need PSA for that, BIR for that. That will be submitted to them.
Probably, if I may ask, with the indulgence of Senator, will the data from BIR, SSS, and HDMF, will this help PhilHealth determine who should be classified as direct contributors? So is that the intention? I think that's the intention. Yeah. Dapat to determine ng yung who would be the direct.
Well, sir, for the House kasi, House version, we did not propose the SSS, the LTO. We only proposed the BIR because of the importance of the necessity to determine the income of the direct contributors, no? So that's the House version.
Yeah. But that's for, yes.
But I concur if the Senate panel wanted a general statement to cover every Filipino and since that's the intention of the population coverage. But can we ask the department, the PhilHealth inputs on this?
Can you ask PhilHealth, Mr. President? Please sit up, please, and use the microphone so that it can be heard.
We're not preventing data sharing.
Yeah.
Data sharing is needed to get info on income for contribution, determination of the direct contributor, sir.
Yes. No, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with data sharing. I'm just saying that the title of this section is coverage. Who are we covering? And we're covering every Filipino. So the issue of the BIR and the PSA is for research purposes. Has nothing to do with coverage. That's the point that I'm driving at.
Mr. Chair, I understand that.
With that data, may exclusion pa. If you don't have a national ID, will you be excluded? If you're not paying taxes, will you be excluded? You know, and all of this later will have repercussion once we discuss benefit packages for paying members and non-paying members. That's what I'm saying.
Sometime?
Yes, Mr. Chair, no problem with the House panel. I think the point of Senator Recto is for the form of the way it was written, not the substance. No, so the House panel agrees with Senator Recto's proposal uh, on population coverage that in that sentence that every Filipino citizen shall be automatically included in the NHIP. Period. Thank you, sir.
Yes, I think that should be sufficient. Maliwanag na yun. Because if you include shall use, baka may exclusion pa. Diba? Oo.
So, does the House panel concur already? Okay, so
Thank you very much to the House panel. Thank you.
So, thank you. So, we move on to Section 6. Service coverage, every Filipino. Okay na ba? Let's update. Okay na, tanggal na yung red, no? Section 6. If you look at... Since there's no contentious issue in Section 6A, I move to adopt.
Mr. Chair, I just have one additional on
Okay.
this one. Every Filipino shall be granted immediate eligibility and access to preventive, promotive, curative, rehabilitative, and palliative for care for medical, dental, mental. We missed the emergency health services, which I think is one of the major gaps in the delivery. So if we may add mental and health services, emergency
And
health
emergency.
services.
So, for
So
palliative care, for medical, dental, and mental, and emergency.
emergency health services.
So, please add emergency. So, then, may medical, dental, mental, and emergency. Siguro ang
So
sining
the House panel is proposing the additional
Okay. So if there's no
Word
objection from the Senate panel, so we adopt and we concur, we agree with the House panel's proposal to add emergency. Okay, so adopt, Section 6A is adopted. Next, Section 6B. Within 2 years from the effectivity of this act, PhilHealth shall implement a comprehensive outpatient benefit, including outpatient drug benefit in accordance with the recommendations of the Health Technology Assessment Council or the HTAC. During the pre-BICAM, the House panel proposed to include subsection B and C in Section 6. We propose to include both sections in the transitory provision. In letter C pala, I missed it. Within 2 years from the effectivity of this act, PhilHealth shall implement a pre-hospital emergency medical services benefit in accordance with the recommendation of the HTAC. The Senate version would includes would it be better to put in our concern is would it be better to put this in the transitory provisions, and also for this to be also is this for the outpatient benefit or ambulance service?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yung proposal po during the pre-BICAM on the inclusion of it's emergency medical services, not pre-hospital. No? So since inad ko na po doon sa service coverage, no need that we put this provision.
So we'll delete the letter C. So we'll delete letter C, 6C. So magiging 6B na lang. And then may D pa pala. Okay? So we delete sexy. Sexy tuloy. Para iba yun ah. Para naiaalala ko. 6C. 6C in design. Okay? So next, so we move the letter B to transitory provision. That's okay with the House panel. So the letter B, Section C will be moved to transitory provision. Next, Section D. The DOH and local government units shall endeavor to provide a healthcare delivery system that will afford every Filipino a primary care provider that would act as initial and continuing point of contact in the healthcare delivery system, provided that except in emergency or serious cases and when proximity is a concern, access to higher levels of care shall be coordinated by the primary care provider.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Senator Tiberos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to propose that in this letter D, magdagdag po tayo ng terms na gatekeeper at saka navigator so that it would read on line 3 of letter D, would act as the gatekeeper, navigator, and initial and continuing point of contact in the healthcare delivery system. Mr. Chair, I so move.
So what does the...
Yeah, just a clarification. What does that mean? Gatekeeper, navigator, and how will that apply in the public health system?
Mr. Chair, mag-a-apply ito in the sense that, kunyari, gatekeeper, siya po yung literally magbubukas ng pinto, mga tamang pinto dun sa pasyente or sa service user, sa member, saan punto sa service delivery network pinaka-appropriate given yung health need or health concern or health problem niya to receive the care that he or she needs. Navigator, para nga tulungan siyang i-direct kung from one point to the other of the service delivery network, matugunan yung health need niya at the same time at that most efficient point or efficient route na the service delivery network, the public health system, will maximally, optimally be able to respond to those needs sa pinakamaayos na paggamit din ng resources na meron tayo, Mr. Chair.
Meaning to say that the patient will have to see a gatekeeper. Remember, my philosophy here is that let us put the patient at the center of discussion here. What is good for the patient? Okay? Now, and that's why in the Senate version, we put shall endeavor, because today there is no such system in the country in the first place. Okay? What is the role of a primary care provider, Mr. Chairman?
The role of a primary care provider, Mr. Chair, is precisely at the level of primary care, so hindi secondary, hindi tertiary, kung saan dun mag-ooperate na yung
So,
mga
sa barangay.
specialized. Opo, sa barangay health stations at
Barangay
saka sa
health
rural
station.
health units,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
So, but in many barangay health stations, there are no doctors to begin with.
Yes, Ms. Yeah,
Yes.
yes, Mr. Chair.
So, who is the navigator and gatekeeper?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I think
Yes.
someone from the House panel
Yes,
would also like to respond. Pero
Congressman Rod?
idugtong ko, prior dugtong dun sa isasagot nila, my proposed addition contemplates yung direksyon na tinatahak ng DOH ngayon to really rationalize yung kanilang health human resources to provide, if not specifically a doctor, at least a health team na who will act as gatekeeper and initial point of contact of the patient or service user to the service delivery network.
Yeah.
But
I have
turn
no
over,
problem
Mr.
with the
Chair.
navigation and all that, pero I don't think it is appropriate to use the term as a gatekeeper. Meaning to say, hindi ka na pwede pumasok kung hindi ka dumaan dito. Di ba? To assist the patient where to go. That's fine with me. So today the system is the patient normally, if there's a barangay health station, will go to the barangay. If there is no barangay health station at mas malapit yung district hospital sa tapat ng bahay niya, diretso siya doon. I mean, that's the reality on the ground. And, working with the DOH, we thought it best that, okay, you can try to develop such a system, but I don't think that it might be appropriate to use a gatekeeper term. Meaning to say, kung di ako dumaan dyan, I cannot use the health system anymore.
Definitely, Mr. Chair, hindi intent nung suggestion ko na gatekeeper is the parang gate closer or gate denier. No. Just that it serves as a guide o sa DOH dun sa tinatahak niyang direksyon to provide gatekeepers. I would be open to a different term Basta to suggest that one na yung magbubukas ng tamang mga pinto sa system sa pasyente. Also provided, Mr. Chair, of course, that except in emergency cases or when proximity is a concern,
Yes.
access to higher levels of care shall be coordinated by the primary care provider. Siyempre, pag emergency, doesn't matter which ER, dapat talaga
Yes.
tumakbo yung
Yes, and we did
yung
provide
tao.
this language in the Senate version as well. Yes. And that's why precisely I brought this up, to
Yes,
have an
Second.
exception, because the reality on the ground is that many of our barangay health stations don't have doctors to begin with. Yeah.
Congressman Salo, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Basically, this is consistent with the discussions being mentioned by, and the proposal made by Senator Hontiveros, as well as the inputs or thoughts of Senator Recto, because this is consistent with section letter E, which this particular, the House panel will be supporting, that within 1 year from the effectivity of this act, the DOH shall promulgate guidelines on the licensing of primary care providers, as well as registration of every person with a primary care provider. And with a proviso that, provided that within 10 years, every person shall be registered with a primary care physician. So basically, papunta po tayo doon sa binabanggit po ni Senator Recto, where there will be, if not a gatekeeper, at least a navigator, someone who will assist, someone who will register each person in the locality. Sa ngayon, dahil hindi pa natin kaya, we will start first with a primary caregiver. Whoever that is, it may be the BHW, the nurses, whoever yung utilize ng Department of Health ngayon. But we'll push or go the direction of ensuring that every person will have a primary care physician. So, Mr. Chair, siguro, susugan na po natin, navigator will be the one more appropriate.
Probably if you can have any suggestions for the right term, because during the discussion, also during the deliberation of the Universal Healthcare in the Senate President Pro Tempore, Senator Recto, doesn't really like the idea of having a gatekeeper. So siguro yun na lang, no? What term could we use? Parang
Mr. Chair?
navigator, parang direct,
Yes.
parang
Or-
ganun
Mr. Chair, or we can maintain that of initial and continuing point of contact. I think it's the same with the gatekeeper or navigator. The continuing point of contact is somewhat like a navigator.
I think this is probably the more appropriate term, the navigator. I think Senator Recto would like that more because he doesn't like the idea of having a gatekeeper.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, what about the possibility of kung hindi muna natin gagamitin yung term na gatekeeper, but instead would act as the navigator and initial and continuing point of contact in the healthcare delivery system? What about that, Mr. Chair? Ayun, okay na po kayo, mukhang okay na po kay Senate President Pro Tem.
Probably Secretary Duque, I will take advantage of your presence. Would you? Yeah, sure. Please.
Secretary.
I think the word navigator shouldn't be a contentious term because it's very clearly not gatekeeping. It's really the intent is to help direct people through the next points of referral, whether vertical or horizontal referral systems. So I think that should be a very benign middle ground consideration. So I think navigator should be okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Duque. Incidentally, before we continue, I would like to acknowledge the presence of some personalities who are here, considering the importance of this landmark legislation. Secretary Duque is here from the DOH. Likewise, Dr. Roy Ferrer, the acting president and CEO of PhilHealth, is here. And also the newly appointed Cabinet Secretary, Secretary Carlo Alexei Nograles, my batchmate. Secretary Carlo, thank you very much, sir, for being here. Hopefully now we will have a good liaison with Malacanang in the Congress with your presence. Former presidential spokesperson, Attorney Harry Roque, also one of the staunch supporters and advocates and author of the Universal Healthcare. Likewise, Yusek Mario Villaverde of the OH is here. Yusek Antonio Gallardo of the PLL of Senate is here. Yusek Laura Pasqua of DBM. And Director Elsa Agustino of DOF is also here. Also, the presence of Dr. Albert Domingo of WHO is also here, who has been very supportive and helpful in the drafting of this measure. Okay, so we can move on probably. Is navigation, the
So
navigator?
shall we maintain, sir, the initial and continuing point of contact, or we'll add the navigator?
I move that we add the navigator, Mr. Chair.
So the Senate panel proposed that we add the navigator
Okay,
as
thank you, Mr. Chair.
the one that would set the direction.
Yes.
That's
Thank you,
okay.
Mr. Chair. Before we proceed, I missed to mention I added on section 6, letter A, the word emergency. But for consideration, we wanted to be specific that within a certain period of time, that the emergency medical services will also be covered by PhilHealth upon the recommendation of HTAC. So still we propose not on the transitory provision, but to include on the outpatient benefit, including outpatient drug benefit, the emergency medical services benefit within 2 years from the effectivity of this act.
So we'll retain, do you propose to retain in section 6C? 6C. Okay. So if there's the Senate panel, if there's an objection, so you want to put it back, balik natin dito.
Yes, sir.
No?
If I may add this in letter B, within 2 years from the effectivity of this act, PhilHealth shall implement a comprehensive outpatient benefit, including outpatient drug benefit, and emergency medical services benefit in accordance. Yeah, isisingit lang po doon sa after the outpatient drug benefit. It's not pre-hospital. It's supposed to be emergency medical services.
So that's on line 15.
Yes po. Then we can delete na po the letters, that letter C.
So you would want it as letter B already, hindi na sa transitory. That will be letter B.
I think we can proceed to letter E, sir.
Okay, so we proceed. If there's there are no more concerns from the Senate panel, letter E. How about the letter D? Hindi mo siya gagawin at letter C? Ayun na yun, ha? Okay. Yeah, we change it to letter C. So if there's no objection, we adopt section D as letter C. As. Okay.
Could we take a look at the language again?
Please, scroll down.
So that will afford everywhere with act as an in assisting the patient. How do you put that there? The language of. Para maliwanag, it is to assist the patient.
Sir Chair. Chair.
Yes, Salo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Consistent with the recommendation or proposal or suggestion that we'll push to in section D, the subsequent paragraph, perhaps we can already delete the word endeavor. Instead, just shall provide a healthcare delivery system. So the DOH and the LGU shall provide a healthcare delivery system that will afford every Filipino care provider.
So you propose to remove endeavor. Diretso na.
The word endeavor.
Shall provide.
I object, Mr. Chairman. This is also an amendment that we place in the Senate. Because in the initial bill, they tried to mandate this. And I'm saying that there is no system in place to begin with. Pipilitin natin na when you don't have the infrastructure in place, what we're saying is that make it a continuing process. So let the DOH work to attain this objective. Because right now, you don't have a single one in place. Name me a province or a city that has this in place today. There is none, eh. And that's why we're against mandating it, eh. Oo.
Yes,
Diba?
Gonzalo?
Or test it first before we mandate it. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Because what I'm saying is consistent actually with the one that we're pushing for in the next subsequent paragraph. So basically,
But we're not there yet in the subsequent paragraph.
I'm just trying to be consistent, Mr. Chair.
No, but we're not there yet. And I'm saying that precisely our point in the beginning of this discussion, at least in the Senate, there was a mandate. Pipilitin natin na immediately when there is no system in place to begin with. And we tried to work with the DOH. O sige, since that is an objective later on that you want to have this system in place, work on it. Pero huwag natin pilitin sa ngayon na you might disrupt the entire healthcare delivery system. Because there's none to begin with today. Wala nga doktor, wala nga physician. Kulang-kulang nga yung barangay health centers natin, eh. Di ba? Wala nga gamit, walang doktor. Di ba? And that's why we're saying, sige, you want to work on that, you can.
Mr. Chair.
Pero wag natin pipilitin na agad-agad. Because you might destroy the entire healthcare system.
With that, Mr. Chair, I'm withdrawing my proposal. I'll just push it in the next paragraph.
Further amendment, Mr. Chairman. After point of contact, line 22, initial continuing point of contact in assisting the patient. It's all about assisting the patient. Assisting the patient. Or maybe instead of, I know, with the permission of the gentle lady, navigate the healthcare delivery system. Tanggalin na lang natin yung navigator end. Every Filipino, a primary care provider that would act as the initial continuing point of contact in assisting the patient navigate the healthcare delivery system.
Mr. Chair, I'd be very happy if we could use the term navigate in the section C, pero sana i-retain pa rin po natin yung term na navigator, would act as the navigator and initial and continuing point of contact. Kasi sa iba't ibang mga universal healthcare systems in our region and then in other regions, oo, nagagamit na po yung term na navigator as a key concept and key term. Yung navigator o primary care provider na di lang siya nagko-coordinate ng care within the network, pero proactively din nagpa-participate siya in guiding or directing the patient in deciding on which services are needed to attain the best health outcomes.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
after the word patient, we take away navigate. This is the point of contact and assisting the patient.
Assisting the patient in the healthcare.
Okay, in, yeah.
In na lang, ayan. Okay.
Through.
Assisting the patient in access.
In or through?
Parang meron siya in access.
In accessing, yeah.
Accessing.
Maybe in accessing the healthcare delivery system.
So, assisting the patient in accessing the healthcare delivery. Yan. Ayan. I think that's better. Assisting the patient in accessing the healthcare delivery. Okay? No more amendments? Any more?
To assist. After the word contact, to assist the patient in accessing. To assist.
To assist the patient in accessing. Wala. Dalawang IUG.
Mr. Chair.
So if that's okay, yes, Congresswoman Escudero.
Mr. Chair, don't you think it's too worthy already to put in so many words there? I think it's self-explanatory already for some of the things that we have there as a navigator.
What's the language? And then that's what they want to amend now.
What do you propose, ma'am? To remove again? Or subject to style?
I think a navigator is self-explanatory to assist the patient.
I just wanted it clearer that the purpose of this is to assist the patient.
So probably we can put that instead of the word navigator, or kasi parang
You know, we're trying to marry the idea of navigating, the primary care provider in the assisting, and that's you know, we realize that this is a product of a give and take and a consensus building, and that's why the law becomes, you know, with the, I think we can all live with this. I suppose so.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Gonzalo?
Mr. Chair, thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Ang primary concern ko lang, the way it's being worded now, yung focus nung the entire primary care giver, provider. Because the way we conceive or envision this particular bill, it's from promotive, preventive, the entirety of the spectrum. Pero lumalabas po rito, yung primary care provider, ang primary focus na lang niya doon sa patient. But in fact, the entirety, it should have been the entire spectrum. The primary care provider, for example, in BHW, may actually be assisting in not necessarily the patient themselves, yung mga the entire population, dun sa preventive promotive part. Pero dito, lumalabas po siya, nagiging focus na yung kanyang role dun sa pasyente na.
Yes, Senator Risa.
Mr. Chair. Thank
Please,
you,
Jo-
Mr.
go ahead.
Chair. I share the concern of Rep. Ron, kasi nga, even in my original suggestion to include gatekeeping, which we did not include here, yung focus din ng gatekeeping precisely is not just individual-based, pero population-based. So, the gatekeeping is supposed to help protect the patient from over-treatment, also protect the specialists from overwork, protect the health facilities from overuse or underuse of technology, and empower primary care. Pero as Sen. Ralph has said, this is a work in progress. So siguro we can, on my part, I will, and it's of course it's up to Rep. Ron if he would also adopt this. Siguro titignan ko na lang as we go along how we can further articulate yung focus sa buong health system, sa buong population, hindi lang sa individual patients as we continue to discuss this UHC bill, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Kong Joe.
Mr. Chair, siguro we just want to make sure na we don't weaken the role of the primary care provider. For example, in our province, lumalabas po yung 80% of the patient that go to the tertiary level, the Bataan General Hospital, could have been addressed by the primary healthcare provider. So we do have RHUs. Siyempre hindi lahat ng barangay health station meron doktor. Pero kung na-address siya dun sa RHU, kung dun pumunta yung pasyente sa RHU, he could have been maybe provided the healthcare faster, and then he would be better instead of going to the general hospital waiting for a longer time because masyadong pumunta lahat dun sa general hospital natin. So
yeah, no, I understand that. You know, my wife was also governor and city mayor, no? And we do have a good health care system in place in the province as well, no? But that's the question. Why did the patient go to the general hospital? If there was an RHU in front of his house or within the community, wouldn't he have gone to the RHU if he knew that services were provided in the RHU? And possibly the reason why he did not go to the RHU is because there are no facilities in place or there are no doctors in place, and that's why he thought it best to go to the general hospital.
Mr.
That's
Chair,
the point that I'm driving at. In many instances, especially at the local level, dahil kulang ang pondo. Because many of the resources were really never devolved to the LGUs. Isn't that so?
Mr. Chair, actually, tingin namin it's more of a mindset of the patient na anything na nararamdaman niya, kahit na alam niya na nandyan yung RHU, may doktor doon, he still feels more confident going to the hospital, just in case what he's feeling is worse, his sickness is worse than his initial assessment. So I think it's a mindset also.
I think it's also proximity. Halimbawa, you know, Batangas is a very big province. There are 31 municipalities and 3 cities. To go to the general hospital is in Batangas City. So I don't think our patients in Nasugbu will go all the way to Batangas City. If there is an available RHU or a district hospital in that area in Nasugbu, right? Why would he traverse 33 other municipalities? Ang layo nun. Okay? So if there are facilities in place in every town, then instead of going to the general hospital, he'd go to the town first. That's the reality on the ground. And that's why that is his mindset. Kung tingin niya masama yung hospital sa lugar ko, or barangay health station sa barangay ko, I'll go to the next barangay, wherever I can get these services.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Kong Salo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Having heard all the discussions, perhaps we can already, I respectfully propose, Mr. Chair, that we just go back to the original wordings. We just include the word navigator and as proposed by Senator Hontiveros and delete to assist in accessing. Just go back to the original, just respectfully propose that we just include the word navigator and. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I agree with Kong Rod Salo. If I may read, Mr. Chair, it should be read like this. The DOH and the LGU shall endeavor to provide a healthcare delivery system that will afford every Filipino a primary care provider that would act as the navigator and initial and continuing point of contact to assist in accessing and assisting. Okay, continuing point of contact in the healthcare delivery system. Period.
Okay, so the Senate panel agrees and concurs. So we adopt Section C.
Mr. Chair, before you
Yes,
move on to
Marisa.
the next point, gusto ko lang appreciate yung point na point out ni Rep. Joet about mindset being one of the factors kung paano ina-access nung pasyente o member yung service delivery network. Kaya mamaya when we tackle also the aspect of health promotion, health information, health technology, pwede rin nating i-flesh out yon. Salamat, Mr. Chair.
Yes, thank you, Sir Risa. And of course, Batanas, one of the most probably, I would say, successful models in the country. They already have a service delivery network before we are even discussing this in this measure. No, so they already set that network. And one of the things that we want to do also is to strengthen the primary care as well. Okay, so now we move on. So we adopt the Section C of 6C. Okay, next.
Madam Chair.
Yung letter E, within 1 year from the effectivity of this act, the DOH shall promulgate guidelines on the licensing of primary care providers as well as the registration of every person to a primary care provider.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair,
Letter D na to,
yes,
supposedly.
respectfully, of course, we support this particular provision, and in addition, for the inclusion of a certain proviso which states, provided that within 10 years from the effectivity of this act, every person shall be registered with a primary care physician. So basically, it's really a progressive realization of the intent of this particular law to ensure that each of us will have access to a primary care physician within 10 years. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Mr. President, just a clarification. What does that mean? You will register a person to a primary care provider. Government will mandate that you should go to this physician. I do not have a choice. Ganun ba yun? I do not have a choice?
You have
Sir,
a choice.
The intention of this one is for every Filipino to have a primary care provider, which means health professionals, doctors, and facilities. Hindi naman po siya pinagbabawal na kung ayaw mong pumunta doon sa primary care physician and you want to go direct to the physician of choice, you can do so. But at least you are registered into this primary care facility. Yun lang, sir.
Wouldn't that create confusion?
Yes, sir.
I'm registered to go to see this person, but I won't go see that person. Ganun ba yun? You know, I suggest, let's simplify it na lang. You know, marami pang pages to,
Okay.
I suggest, we leave that to the DOH to work it out later on. And I don't think we should be registering persons to say that, oh, you have to see this physician. Give him a choice.
But, sir,
What is good for the patient? Here, we're looking at the other way around. What is good for the government? I think we should look at it as what is good for the patient, what is best for the patient. Now, the solution is not always government. Okay? And that's why we're increasing the demand side here in the health services by using PhilHealth. PhilHealth, pwede kang pumunta dapat sa pribado, sa pampubliko. Who can give you the best care? I think that's what our mindset should be. Hindi yung, you look at it in the side of government na, okay, dito ka pumunta. Ito lang, dito ka lang pwede pumunta. This is the doctor that you will see. This is the facilities that you will go to. Ito lang. But precisely why you have health insurance, there is a complementary role between the government and the private sector. So if I want to see a different physician, you will register me to another physician?
If we can give Secretary Duque a chance to explain the
Yes,
universal
Secretary
healthcare
Duque,
concept.
for your position.
Yes, thank you very much. There is no coercion here, Mr. Chairman. So you will just be registered to either a public primary care provider, and as well as the intent of the universal healthcare is also to include the private clinics into the equation.
Yes.
So
Correct,
it's
yeah.
actually going to operate on the exercise of the option on the part of the patients. But the important thing is the primary care delivery system has to be put in place. It has to be enhanced, and in places where
I
there
have
is
no problem with that. Huh?
Yes,
My
exactly.
problem is the registration of every person to a primary care provider. I'm looking at the language.
Yeah, the registration
I
has
don't
something
mind
to do.
having physicians in all barangays if we can do that,
Yes,
assuming that we can.
that's the goal.
That's the goal.
Yes.
Okay, let's have it there. But then let the patient choose. This is a public physician, this is a private physician. Meron akong health insurance. Or let me choose who I should see. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman, I do agree with your position. It's crystal clear. It's just that
Let the market operate. There's a complementary role between the public and the private healthcare delivery system.
yung
In
kasi,
fact, there are more private hospitals than public hospitals. Right? I don't think also that later on, when we get to that, pipilitin natin yung tao pumunta sa public hospital lang. Unless we improve the supply side, the public hospitals. Give
Chairman.
what is best for the patient. That's what I'm looking at here. What is best for the patient? The freedom to choose. Basta may insurance ako. That's what we're trying to do here. I have insurance. If I'm better off served in a private hospital, allow me to get that better service. Now tayo, you may kaya dito. Halimbawa, meron tayong family doctor. Pipilitin nyo ako to see someone else? But that's the point. You're talking about registering a person. Give him the choice. Which hospital to go to? Sino yung gusto niyang primary care provider niya? Lalo na yung paying member, nagbabayad ako. Pipilitin niyo ako sa ibang pumunta. Palagay ko mali yun.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Yes. I don't mind government trying to have more primary care providers. I don't mind that. I welcome that. As much as possible, let's have a physician in every barangay. Fine with me. Pupuntahan ng tao yun, I'm sure. Pero I don't think dapat pilitin natin. Huh?
Mr.
So,
Chair.
maybe the language should just be, what was the language earlier? Everybody shall be there. So, the language being proposed earlier should have been, I suppose, maybe within 10 years from the effectivity of this act, the DOH shall promulgate guidelines on the licensing of primary care providers, or something to that effect. Pero wala na yung registration of every person. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, let me just clarify. The registration has something to do. It has some financing implications. The capitation is part and parcel of the way the PhilHealth should operate. Just like when we accredit public and private hospitals, the view is really also to accredit the primary care facilities. And the reason we need to register them
Yeah,
is because
I'm open
Right.
to registering. the primary care
Because
facilities.
capitated
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the payment implication is that there will be a system of capitation. So, of course, if you have to understand the accountability that has to go with the payment of capitation to the LGUs, and it's important that there's a pre-identified facility, primary care facility, to which families within a catchment area must register. Para capitation lang. It's the financing implication.
Mr. Chair.
Can we answer first, Congresswoman Sansing?
Thank you, Mr.
Then
Chair.
Secretary Taveras.
This is a worldwide practice that a citizen should register to a primary care physician. So, meaning, it's the choice of every Filipino where to register. Kasi registration lang naman to eh. This is just my opinion. Maybe the reason behind is if you register to a physician, then your medical history is with that particular physician. In fact, in the States, I was able to talk to a doctor. In one of the hospitals, they can even predict when the patient will die because of the history of the patient. And I think this is a good provision, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, just a clarification. For as long as the patient can choose, let's make that clear, that the patient can choose whether he wants to go to a public or a private physician or an institution, public or private. Okay? So that is clear. That is our intent. Okay,
Mr. Chair.
thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
if that's a concern of Senator Recto, maybe we can add public or private primary care physician, Mr. Chair.
So we'll add, Congresswoman Sansing is proposing to add public or private. To public or
Hindi shall be registered. Shall register to a public or private primary care provider of his choice.
shall register.
Of his or her choice, di ba?
Yeah. Huh. Of choice na lang. Pwede na siguro, of choice without only his and her. That's okay, di ba? Pwede naman. So it will now read as provided that within 10 years from the effectivity of this act, every Filipino shall register with a public or private primary care physician of choice. Okay? Okay na? Public or private primary care. Public and. Public and na lang, mas and or. And or. Okay. Sige.
Mr. Chair.
So and or. Yes, Congressman.
Mr. Chair, baka better po yung public or private primary care provider kasi it doesn't have to be physician.
Mr. Is at present, it's primary care provider. The intention is within 10 years, that would already graduate to physician. Kasi sa ngayon, yung primary care provider may be nurses, midwives, or BHWs. Ang aim natin, within 10 years, dapat physician na yun.
So do you have to, just a question, yung public and private, kasi yung choice naman yun eh. Pwede ka kasi na. Ha? And,
Mr. Chair.
or lang. So public or private primary care physician of choice. Okay, Elmore?
For the record, Mr. Chair, supposed to be kasi yung registration natin isa lang, no? Ang konsepto ng universal healthcare, yung primary care provider, no? It's actually more of yung public, no? I-capacitate natin. If you have registration in government, public, and then you have the private, how can we have a clear picture of the health status of the citizen and how can we plan for them. So, yun lang. Although, I concur ko ano po yung mapag-usapan nyo. But as a doctor in the ground, yung reality kasi at this time, as you mentioned by Senator Recto, that we are more private at this time. And we have 60% private and 40% public. And we wanted through UHC to capacitate the public. That's the intention of the bill na within a certain period of time, let's say 10 years, you have enough facilities, we have enough human resources, and from then on, makikonsider natin na, okay, the public can actually provide for the Filipinos. So, yun yung intention. Ang fear ko lang po dito kasi, since ang gusto natin by choice. Okay, gusto kong pumunta. Technically, hindi pa rin natin naayos yung sistema natin kasi kung saan ko gusto eh. Although yung registration, it's just a registration. Kung treatment or consultation ang gusto mo, you're free to go wherever you want as long as you are willing to pay extra, no? Kasi kung dito sa primary care provider provided by the government, of course, we wanted that no out-of-pocket for the general population who cannot afford. So, yun lang yung fear ko doon sa UHC bill natin. Parang nalalayo po tayo doon sa gusto nating mangyari that ang mahihirap talaga, ma-access nila, ma-avail nila yung dignified way of treatment or care at maibigay yung kailangan nila at the time of need without suffering financial hardship, no? So, but for DOH to plan for them in the future, kung meron pa rin tayong, okay, you go there, you register here, you register here. So, paano nila mapaplano pa yung gusto nating mangyari na klase na public health system. So, yun lang po yung fear ko doon sa reality in the ground. So, for the record lang po, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Elisa.
Sir Chair, I share the concern of Chair Helen, pero dahil sa ngayon yung consensus building process natin sa BICAM ay meron ganito tayong lengguwahe at intent na public or private primary care physician of choice. Siguro magiging mas importante kung paano ifo-forge ng DOH with other stakeholders yung IRRs. Para, kasi when we draw in the private primary care physicians, by consequence, magkakaroon sila ng accountability sa DOH sa aspetong ito. So, how will DOH consolidate the data about the registration of citizens with physicians of their choice across the public and private para ma-facilitate yung delivery of health services. So, in any case, over the years, habang gumaganda yung service delivery network through the HFEP, habang dumadami at gumagaling yung mga health human resources natin, then DOH may give feedback to us in Congress paano further mapaganda by amendment yung batas natin. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Siguro before we move on to this section, particular section, just like to ask, siguro, dito rin si Secretary Duque, I'd like to take advantage of the opportunity that you're here, Sec Duque. Yung pong 1 year period for the effectivity of this act, are you okay with that? Yung 1 year, kaya na yan?
Mr. Chairman, insofar as the guidelines is concerned, okay naman siya, 1 year. Pero yung sa registration, it might take more than 1 year. Probably, let's put it 2 years, realistically. Because, you know, this is something that we need to, within 2 years, registration. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, just like to clarify, kasi 1 year, baka, yeah, it's too short. So 2 years is okay with you? For registration.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Any more concerns with Section 60?
Yes, nating reward properly, ano po. So, provided that within 2 years from the effectivity of this act, every Filipino shall register with a primary care provider. Provided further that within 10 years from the effectivity of this act, every Filipino shall register with a public or private primary care physician of choice. So basically, yung 2 years po na binabanggit po ni Secretary pertains doon sa registration to a primary care provider. But 10 years, no, guidelines, yung first sentence pertains to the guidelines. Issuance of guidelines is within 1 year. Then, provided that within 2 years from the effectivity of this act, every Filipino shall register with a primary care provider. Provided, finally, or further, that within 10 years from the effectivity of this act, every Filipino shall register with a public or private primary care physician of choice.
Just a consideration, Mr. Chairman. If you take a look at that entire section, there would be 2 registrations. Why not just simplify?
Mr. Chair, I concur with the observation of Sen. Ralph. Ang understanding ko, yung in-amend natin ay sa ngayon, nasa within 2 years from the effectivity of this act, the DOH shall promulgate guidelines and so on and so forth. Provided that within 10 years from the effectivity of this act, di ba, every Filipino shall register. Di po ba dalawa lang pinag-uusapan natin? 2 years tapos 10 years,
yes.
Mr. Chair?
2 years to license the primary care providers. 10 years for the patient to choose, to register, yes.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Kasi
Constantine.
para ang dami-daming
Provided.
deadlines. So, can we just, I propose that we'll just, okay. So, I agree with that para hindi na lang siya may 1 year, may 2 years, may 10 years. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Chair.
So, any more? Any more concerns?
Okay, I think, yes, Secretary Duque stated earlier that they can promulgate the guidelines within a year, okay? And within the year. And he's talking about the registration. It may take them 2 years to register. So it's 2 different subject matter, I think.
So 1 year yung guidelines.
Guidelines.
Okay. 2 years is for registration.
Mr. Chairman, and that's why, we're adding so many things in this BICAM right now kasi, there's already sufficient language to begin with as far as the working draft is concerned with regard to Section 6 service coverage, and we already said that the DOH and the LG shall endeavor to provide a healthcare delivery system, so on and so forth. But now we're being bogged down by adding so many of these implementing rules and regulations that let's just trust the DOH in doing them. Maybe there's no need to put all of this. Give them the flexibility.
Yes, I agree. That will give BOH more flexibility.
And then maybe we can discuss the meat, the substance of the contentious issues.
Okay. Okay, that's okay with the House panel. So we adopt section D, 6D.
We still adopt
Okay.
that, or do we delete all of that already? Huh?
Mr. Chair, following on the suggestion of Sen. Ralph, so it would seem that the wording now is 6D. The DOH shall promulgate guidelines on the licensing of primary care providers as well as the registration of every person to a primary care provider, provided that within a certain number of years from the promulgation of this act, a certain number of years to be provided for in the IRRs, every Filipino shall register to a public or private primary care physician of choice. It seems, Mr. Chair, just to clarify to everyone around the table.
No more specific.
Based on Sen. Ralph's suggestion, wala nang mga time period.
What is this registration of every person to a primary care provider? Di ba the first issue is with regard to the licensing of the primary care providers? And we already agreed earlier that within that 10-year period, by that time siguro there will be a primary care physician. Huh? Or maybe Barry just delete all of that and let the DOH do it. Huh? Mahirap yung daming
Mr. Chair, just to reiterate, palagi ko importante pa rin i-provide for explicitly ano yung minamandate natin gawin ng DOH. Pero yung suggestion kasi kanina, which I support, ay tanggalin lang yung within 1 year, within 2 years, or within 10 years. Kasi bahala na ang DOH mag-provide for ng time periods sa IRRs. Pero i-retain natin yung dalawang mandate na yan. Promulgate guidelines at saka
So just a clarification. I'm fine with the promulgating guidelines on the licensing. But then I go back again to my query earlier. What does registration of every person mean to a primary care provider?
I think as discussed earlier, we concur on the proposal that should be registered on public and private, so it should be deleted.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the agreement
Yes,
earlier,
that's
right?
the agreement
Yeah.
earlier. But if I, just to manifest, Mr. Chair, that primary care provider means facilities and healthcare workers.
Yes.
So, alam po natin na component niyan, kung may physician ka, has to have a facility. But very specific po tayo, nilagay lang natin, shall register with public and private primary care physician of choice. So, nawala yung pinag-uusapan natin as a whole, yung primary care provider. Yeah. Shall we use a physician or should we use a primary care provider? Person to a primary care provider and adopt the last, then change the primary care physician to provider. Okay.
So, okay na? Okay na? There are no more of the part of the Senate? No more. No objection, so we concur. So we adopt section D. Okay, so we can move on. Section 7. We propose to adopt section 7. If there's no objection from the House panel.
No objection, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Next, chapter 3, regarding the National Health Insurance. Section 8, chapter 3, section 8, yes. So we propose to adopt section 8. That's okay with the House panel?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so now we move on. Section 9. Entitlement to benefits. So for section 9, let's first discuss the sentence. PhilHealth shall provide additional NHIP benefits for direct contributors where applicable. We have to decide whether to adopt Senate version wherein direct contributors will have different packages. Ito na, medyo ito yung contentious, no? We have to decide whether to adopt the Senate version wherein direct contributors will have different packages from indirect contributors, or to adopt the House version on social solidarity, which provides for same benefit package for both direct and indirect contributors. Section 9, so first, no? To point section 9. Every member shall be provided immediate eligibility for health benefit package under the NHIP, provided that PhilHealth identification card shall not be required in the availment of any health services. Provided further that no co-payments shall be charged for services rendered in basic accommodation. Provided even further that co-payments and co-insurance for amenities shall be regulated by the DOH and PhilHealth. Provided finally that the current PhilHealth package for members shall not be reduced. And then, PhilHealth shall provide additional NHIP benefits for direct contributors where applicable, provided that failure to pay premiums shall not prevent the enjoyment of any NHIP benefits. Provided further that employers and self-employed direct contributors shall be required to pay all missed contributions with an interest compounded monthly of at least 3% for employers' tax, not exceeding 1.5% for self-earning professional and practitioners and migrant workers. So, probably we could already discuss now, go to the beat, yung pong House version and Senate version. Sige, ma'am,
Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify on page 9, line 1, that no co-payment shall be charged for services rendered in basic accommodation. Does this mean both for government and private? If both, I think we need to specify kasi yung problem natin pag nag-IRR po eh. So ano po yung intention?
This provision was requested by the DOH.
Gusto ko lang pong i-clarify yung no co-payments for basic accommodation. Ito po ba ay para sa pampublikong ospital kasama
Yes.
ang pampribado?
Yeah.
So,
May we, with the permission of the chairman, may we request the DOH to explain?
kasi kung kasama po ang private, we need to specify kasi yung pag-draft po ng IRR para malinaw po sa kanila.
Yes, Secretary Duque.
Yeah, well, in the context of universal health care, you should not make those differentiation because it has to be both public and private. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to pursue the goals of universal health care.
Okay, so following that, Secretary Duque, with the permission of the chairman of the House panel as well, no? I agree with the Secretary. We're adopting now a principle. We're talking about universal health care, right? And now we're treating public and private similarly. which is my original position. Now, having said that, when we say here that no co-payments, meaning to say insurance to, private insurance,
No,
or,
it's
or out-of-pocket expenses.
it's
so-
out-of-pocket
Yes.
expenses.
Yes?
Mr. Chairman, I also would like to take this opportunity to perhaps disabuse our minds about
Yes.
charity, but moving towards a more technically appropriate term, which is either no co-payment or zero balance billing, no balance billing. So there's a third-party payer, which is largely PhilHealth.
Correct.
So that has to be put in this context.
Yeah, when you talk about co-payment, out-of-pocket expense, or a private health insurance. Diba?
Indirectly, it can be construed as a private insurance that's
Correct.
doing a top-up payment,
Correct.
beyond which PhilHealth doesn't reimburse.
Correct. So,
And-
but
there's a
yeah.
out-of-pocket, which is
Yes.
literally and figuratively speaking,
Correct.
you really pay because you don't have a third party
So-
or an HMO.
So here we're only talking about basic accommodation, di ba? The most basic. Okay? So in effect, we're saying that we're regulating the private sector in this case. Okay, we're telling them, in effect, pag basic accommodation, wag na ninyong sisingilin. Okay, total, we're buying naman from you, okay, volume, okay, for basic accommodation. Now, later on, if he has private insurance, or he's willing to pay more, then he goes to not a basic accommodation, but he can go to a regular room or something to that effect, right? A higher package of some sort, right?
Well, he can be accommodated in
Correct.
in a room that has a lot of fancy wallpapers
Correct,
and
whatever.
a lot of napkins and embroidered,
Got it.
but he's gonna eat the same tuyo.
Okay.
And PhilHealth will pay for the same amount of
Correct,
tuyo.
correct. Okay. So, thank you for the clarification. Yeah.
Yes, Kong Yanon. So doon tayo sa ano, can we already discuss this?
Yeah.
Para we go to the meat na siguro.
So are we going to specify private and government facilities, health facilities, or just basic accommodation period?
You know,
Kasi ang fear ko lang po, baka ko questionin din in the future by the private health care providers na it's a public health
I think the
policy.
records will be clear enough here that this is for basic, para sa lahat, both public and private, treated equally.
Sir, currently po kasi may policy tayo ng no balance billing. Government lang po yun. So, hindi po siya ginagamit sa private hospitals. So, siguro po, para lang po mas maging malinaw sa private na for no balance billing, now, with the enactment of UHC, kasama na po sila.
I think we'll get to discuss that later on eh. We're not yet there eh. Here we're discussing basic accommodation pa lang eh. Mr. Chairman, I think we're getting to the meat of the discussion already here in this section. But prior to that, before I discuss the two benefit package system, may I hear from the Secretary the reason, I understand what the reasons are, but just to put it on record in this BICAM, the last proviso in Section 9 provided finally that co-payments and co-insurance for amenities shall be regulated by the DOH and PhilHealth. What do we mean by this?
But for the private sector, it's probably more on the private sector application.
So,
In other words, co-payments and co-insurance will be applied for the private sector providers. rather than the
But
public sector.
the important word here is regulated. Regulated by the DOH and PhilHealth.
Uh, one of the major challenges today, as the Philippine health delivery system operates, is the propensity of the private sector. With all due respect, if there are some representatives here from the private sector hospital associations, is the runaway fees and charges that happen. And so you tend to dilute the value of the PhilHealth reimbursements, and you unwittingly also contribute to what is known as the medical inflation. Kasi ito babayaran mo, tapos ang gagawin ng private sector, itataas niya yung fees. So nadadilute yung impact ng bayad ng PhilHealth. So I think the way to address this is to really regulate it. Otherwise, if you say it's going to be, market-driven, laissez-faire, we shouldn't be regulating, then kawawa naman ang taong bayan. It now goes against the very grain of universal health care. Because the cost of universal health care, everybody has the responsibility to contribute to it. I mean, it can't just be government. Otherwise, it's not universal health care. The concept of complementation is a very important principle that has to be understood by everyone. And so I think the regulatory aspect is something that we shouldn't live without.
The regulation is with regard, because here the language is amenities. Should the DOH and PhilHealth regulate the type of amenities? Co-payment and co-insurance for amenities? I understand the pakyawan, because you're the biggest health insurer in the country. Diba?
Siguro, these amenities point to the rooms, yung accommodation.
Yeah.
For example, zero co-payment, as was articulated earlier, for basic accommodation. So, say it's a ward where you have 4, 5 people
I think
sharing.
we're done with that. Right?
We're done with that. Now, for higher accommodation, the goal is predictability. Alam mo kung magkano ibabayad, magkano yung co-payment. Hindi private sector lang magsasabi na, ito yung fee ko.
Yeah,
Pasensya kayo.
but this is not. This is just for the amenities, huh?
Yeah, for the room accommodation.
So, should government be regulating that?
It's a very difficult question, Your Honor. But how do you get the private sector to significantly contribute to the success of universal health care?
No, I have no problem with regard to the case rates.
Okay.
Kasi yun naman yung binibili natin dito eh. Not the amenities, right? It is the service. Right? The professional fee. The lab test, the lab fees, if there are any, so on and so forth. Yun ang pinapakyaw natin dito, the services. Right? Okay, so something to think about first. And maybe we can correct this language. But moving forward, then maybe it's appropriate time to explain the two benefit package system. Okay. Now, Mr. Chairman, you will notice that in the Senate, as we agreed, that in the issue of fairness, and if I may explain further, that we propose a two-benefit package system. One for paying members, which here in the bill, we're discussing of increasing rates. Okay? May maliwanag na increase in rates. At the same time, for non-paying members, remember in the PhilHealth here, we're identifying two types of members. In effect, the paying and the non-paying. right? Okay? In the past, when we created PhilHealth in 1994, if I'm not mistaken, when I was still a member of the House, there's a socialized system only for paying members. Our economy then was not big enough yet to support indigents or non-paying members. Today, as we have progressed over a period of how many decades, and we're able to collect more taxes, we thought it best that let's already provide health insurance package to non-paying members. So in effect, what we did here in this bill is everyone has universal health coverage, whether paying or non-paying. Okay? Meron tayong package na isa for everyone. Okay? And we're looking for resources, which we started in 2012 when we increased tobacco and alcohol taxes, incremental revenue. We use that money to support the non-paying, the senior citizens, which I authored, including the non-paying members. Now we have an opportunity again, and to make the system work properly, so that the collection efficiency of PhilHealth hopefully improves and not diminishes. Remember, we're promising it. Every Filipino will have health insurance package. And we're doing that promise here. Okay? We have identified now, in addition to sin taxes, we've also identified now PCSO, PAGCOR, and maybe we can write better language as far as sin taxes are concerned here, to provide more to pay for the non-paying members. Okay? You will still have a socialized with regard to the paying members. Because from 10,000, at least in the Senate version, from 10,000 to 40,000, socialized pa rin yan within that bracket. Okay? Now, for those who are not contributing, we've identified PCSO, PAGCOR, and like I said, in 2012, we already put in here sin taxes. Okay? And in this bill, we're asking those naman now who are paying to pay more. In fact, from 2.75 to 5%, that's almost double. 80% increase. Okay, so we're looking for resources. But it will be unfair for the paying members who we're asking to contribute more at hindi maliwanag what they get back in return. This is a payroll tax. Dagdag wisto. Today, we are collecting from paying members roughly 83 billion. I think baseline they projected for 2018 at 2.75%. Is that correct?
The payment of the formal sector or the contributory group is about 60 billion, Mr. Chairman. For 2018.
Members' contribution.
Yeah.
What I have here for 2018 projected, private 54 billion, government 15 billion, informal sector, self-earning 11.2 billion, migrant workers 2 billion, for a total of 83 billion.
If you include all, not just the formal sector contributing members, then you're right.
Yes, correct. Now, 2.75% yan. Pag ginawa mo 5% yan, the projected is 151 billion. That's kulang-kulang 70 billion more. That's almost double. Okay? That's almost double at 5%. Katumbas yan ng 3 pesos per liter kung sa excise tax.
Mr. Chairman, the contributory scheme is divided between the employee and the employer. So the direct impact is really just roughly a little over 1.32.
As far as PhilHealth, this is all employee. There is no employer contribution here. PhilHealth, di ba? Ay, I'm sorry. Ay, employer. Tama. Correct. Total na to. That is total, correct. Yeah, but even though, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, to us, maliit ito, but we have the numbers for each category. But the point is this. We're asking the pay members to increase. When we identified PhilHealth to begin with, there are two types of members. Paying, in effect, and non-paying. Why don't we have two types also of benefit package? There's one package for all, but if you're paying, may top up ka ng konti naman siguro. For fairness. Diba? So that's what we're trying to say. And that's why we're looking for other sources of revenue that we can include in PhilHealth. And later on, we will agree na hindi naman mandated that PhilHealth can offer additional health insurance to compete like the private sector. Ang mandate hanggang dito. Everyone has this care. You pay, you get a little more. Okay? If you want to pay further, but not mandated, voluntarily, para may competition in the health sector, then you get this much. Remember, PhilHealth is a monopoly. So that's what we're saying here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if I may, the PhilHealth can actually, under this law, I believe the PhilHealth can also provide a supplemental benefit package, which we have been referring to as the PhilHealth Plus. And so that has to be fully developed and actuarially determined whether what should be the additional contribution to be made by the private sector members or paying members. So that we're not precluded from doing exactly and aligning it to your views, Mr. Chairman.
Now remember, I don't mind having that later on, like I said, yung PhilHealth Plus, so that there's competition. And in the Senate version, we only talk about a cap of 40,000. Why? Because beyond the 40, there are many who buy private insurance. Ito sa pilitan to, mandating to eh. Payroll check to eh. Buwis to eh. Babawasan ang sweldo mo eh. Okay? From 40 and above, there's a lot who buy their own private health insurance para on top of the PhilHealth. Once you increase this to 100, you're taking away their ability to buy private health insurance, which today maliwanag what they get back in return. Dito, it's only a promise that we will improve the packages yet. But you're taking away something from them already. And remember, in the past, the bill was silent on what the rate increases will be. I think we're better off identifying that from the beginning and up to how much, what those rate increases are. And looking at the fairness issue as well, of those contributing and those non-contributing. And remember, we're asking them to contribute much, much more. When it would appear to me that the original plan of the PhilHealth is to improve the benefit package by roughly 5% only every year. Okay, so those are the reasons why the Senate thought it best when we pass this, to have these two packages, no? Later on, we will get also to the senior citizen, which I think should have a better package because they need it most. Okay?
Mr. Chair?
Yes. So, but may floor pa rin tayo dito, ha? There's a floor. Everyone gets the same thing. And that's why the first paragraph nga talks about no payment, no copay shall be charged for services rendered in basic accommodation. Yun yung minimum package. In effect, yes.
Yes, Kongdan?
Mr.
Madam.
Chair, as a principal author of this bill and a paying member also, of course, I want to get the extra benefit from the PhilHealth, no? But, yung discussion po namin with PhilHealth, kasi we asked them yung sustainability ng operation nila, kung magkaroon po ng distinction ng benefit ang subsidized by the government at tayo na paying members. Siguro po, we can give them the opportunity to present ano yung impact sa kanila for better appreciation lang of the body para makapag-decide po tayo. Of course, ang House version po kasi yung we maintain the social solidarity, which means one benefit for all. And we are amenable to the proposal that we have that PhilHealth Plus additional benefit. But if you opted to pay extra more, which I want a clarificatory or I want to be clarified on this by Senator Recto. Yung po bang minimining nyo na two benefit is that we have the basic, okay, we'll all get this basic.
Everyone gets a basic.
Yeah.
If I'm a paying member, I get a little more.
As determined by PhilHealth. Where
Yes.
applicable, sir.
Yes.
Okay, hindi naman po sinasabing mandatory or I'm paying 12,000 annually for the premiums. You have to give me this package. So,
No, I'm not saying
depende
that.
po sa viability din ng
Of course,
fund.
definitely.
Okay, sir.
Okay?
Uh,
Now, I may be amenable to a single package if we don't increase the rate for members' contribution.
Sir, can we recognize PhilHealth President Dr. Ferrer to further explain their position on this?
If I may, Your Honor, my actuarian will present the fund life, no? Given the different ceiling po ng kano natin and percentage share. So, my actuarian, Mary Santiago, will present.
So this is what you'll be presenting, which you have presented to us also, right? We've seen this presentation, eh. Di ba?
For some, yes, yes, yes. Your
And
Honor.
we already pointed out to you also the flaws of this presentation, right? So paulit-ulit lang tayo sa discussion na to, right?
Yeah, sir, Your Honor, there are several options that this is presented here. For one, the assumption is a similar benefit package for all members. This is to satisfy the principle of social health insurance, which is equity, uniform basic essential health package for all. And for the social solidarity, there is a risk sharing between the rich and the poor. So that's the social solidarity principle of the social health insurance. For this graph, as you can see, the blue line is the projection for the fund balance with an increase in the rate of 3% for year 1, which is assumed to be at 2020, in 2020. Year 2 would be 4% in 2021, and year 3 and onwards will be 5%, with a cap of 100,000. As we can see, the blue line is sustainable. It will not dip for the next 10 years. Okay. For the orange line, this is the projection of the fund balance, for which, again, the rate is increasing by 1% every year, starting in year 1, which is assumed to be in 2020. So 3% for 2020, 4% for 2021, and 5% onwards from 2022 onwards, with a cap of 40,000. So this is, as we can see, the fund will not be sustainable. It will only last until 2027 because of the cap of 40,000.
That assumes what? That means, basically, what you should do, a benefit package is based on the resources available. Ito yung ibibigay natin. Right?
Yes, sir. But we want universal coverage, universal health care, for which it will be has the most impact to the patients. That means,
first question,
yes,
it's all dependent on how much money is available. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So naturally, if I listen to the BIR, let's increase all taxes, including excise tax on fuel, everything. If I listen to SSS, let's increase all contributions. If we listen to GSIS, let's increase even more. We listen to PhilHealth, let's increase as much as we can, right?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Okay? Now, what we are discussing right now, wala pa naman tayo dyan, ha? We're discussing 2 packages ba? Should contributing members have a different package as an incentive for contributing? That is the first issue.
Yes, yes, sir, Your Honor.
And what do I get back in return also if I pay nga pala from 2.75 to 5%? That's 85% increase. What do I get back in return? In relation to 1 package and to 2 packages.
Yes, sir. For this assumption, sir, Your Honors, this will have an increase in terms of benefit payouts to cover for the basic accommodation management of care. So that's why we want a no balance billing for the basic accommodation. For the services, this will be given for all, and then the expansion of the primary care benefit, which is envisioned to help the achievement of the universal health care. As we can see from here, between the blue line and the orange line, the ones that will be affected will only be those earning 40,000 and more. So that means everybody will be paying 3, 4, 5%. It will be increased. So those lower income groups will be the ones most affected between the 40,000 and the 100,000 ceiling. Because all of them will be increased 3, 4, 5. But the ones who are earning 40,000 and above will not increase in terms of contribution if we use the orange line.
Okay, so in the same argument, so why not beyond 100,000? You know, at the end of the day, this is a payroll tax.
Actually, our proposal,
Taas sa sweldo to.
Yes, sir.
Diba?
Yes, sir.
Okay? Now, let's go back to the first discussion. What is the first discussion? Benefit package muna. Okay? As I pointed out kanina, 83 billion ang collection natin. Okay? Private, 54 billion. That will rise to 99 billion. Government, 15.5. Magiging 28 billion yan ang collection. Informal sector, self-earning today, is 11.2 billion. Okay? You know, frankly, this could drop. Why? Remember, sinasabi natin dito, every Filipino will be covered. You self-employed, walang employee-employer relationship yan. Walang kaltas sweldo yan. So kung alam ka naman covered na lahat, ba't ako magbabayad? By doing these 2 packages, you're preserving the incentive for them to pay. Because what do I get back in return? if I'm paying, at least I get something in return, an incentive. This is an incentive to pay. Okay? So that's what we're proposing here. Because right now, what is the collection efficiency of PhilHealth? Right? Oh, pangalawa, kung libre-libre na lahat, baka marami dyan sa self-employed, hindi na magbayad yan. Babagsak ang koleksyon. Total, covered na rin sila eh. So why should we not incentivize those paying members? Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yes, I see your point, sir, in terms of the incentivizing for them to be covered. However, as we can see, the reason that we want the data sharing is for us to be able to get the information, because the principle of mandatoriness of this social health insurance is that everybody should be contributing. So there shouldn't be a voluntary member. So that means if we are able to have a data sharing with other government agencies, we'll be able to get information.
Nothing prevents you from data sharing with government agencies. That is not the discussion right now.
Okay, sir.
We're discussing here right now whether we need to have 2 benefit packages or 1. Okay? What is the better policy? Is it proper to incentivize those who are paying? And kayo naman ang mag-determine din what benefit package in addition they should get from the unit floor. Right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, halimbawa, I'll give you another. Let's look at the different government agencies. Kung may pag-ibig ka, ang members ng pag-ibig, they get something back in return, right? Is there a member of pag-ibig na non-paying that gets any benefit from pag-ibig? There is none. Tama? Okay. Ang GSIS, members' contribution din yan, di ba? They get something in return for contributing. Ang SSS, these are all monopolies of government. All institutions created by government na may mandate. Okay? Here in PhilHealth, we want every Filipino to have health insurance. And we're saying, let's use taxpayers' money through sin taxes. Fine. O dagdagan pa natin yan. Kumuha tayo ng pondo ng PCSO at PAGCOR. Fine. Okay? Gusto natin, mamaya, I will make the proposal. We can amend the sin taxes here. We have all the data available. You want to give more health insurance for the floor? Fine, let's do it. But let's preserve the gains in the collection also from the self-earning or informal sector who are contributing. Incentivize contribution. That's what we're saying here. Pangalawa, let's not forget the fact that this is a tax. This is a payroll tax. We're asking them to pay more. Diba? What is the House version ba? Does the House have an increase in members' contribution? There is none. What does the Senate have? We made it clearer. The Senate provided that every 2 years, which incidentally, we just passed the SSS bill also, which will be signed by the President, may increases din dun, ha? Remember, ang inflation ngayon, 6.7 na, o 6.2, whatever that figure is. From 4 to 6, nagre-reklamo ang tao. It's so easy to say, maliit lang ang increase, eh. But in the absolute amounts, this is also huge, but you want to preserve the collection also of the PhilHealth. Pag sinabi mong libre-libre lahat, walang magbabayad na dyan. Someone will have to pay for it. If you were a self-employed, why will I pay now? Walang employee-employee relationship to. Walang kaltasweldo to. Hindi na lang ako magbabayad. Libre din naman yan eh. But if you incentivize it, then chances are you will continue to pay. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, let me just share with you this information. You're right that it will be bad for the public to be imposing additional taxes, whether this be payroll tax or VAT or sales tax or whatever. But I think of all the social security institutions, the one that provides the most impact in terms of benefits that are felt by the Filipino people with very low contribution rate. We're not talking about GSIS, that's 20%, or SSS, about 12, 13%. And the both other pension fund systems, the benefit turnaround takes much longer time because that's when you need to reach the age of retirement, 60 optional, 65 mandatory. But in the PhilHealth, we've noticed that for the only time when we actually increase the contribution rate from 2.5% to 2.75 was like after 21, 22 years, no? And once we did that, I would like to share with you, I don't know the relevance of this, but I think this is very important information, the public satisfaction with PhilHealth regarding the support and protection it provides to its members and dependents. This was from February 9 to December 2015. The satisfaction rating is 85%, the highest among all the social protection institutions of government. And to boot, the trust rating of PhilHealth is 95%. So this is really a very clear manifestation of how effective the PhilHealth benefits are provided, and the way they're provided, given in the context that this is what I would always call low cost but high benefit impact.
I agree, Secretary. Naturally, if you're going to be asking a person who does not contribute, okay ba PhilHealth that he gets a benefit? Naturally, of course, yes. But maybe let's ask the question naman also to those contributing. Sufficient ba?
Ito naman kasi hindi naman nila...
I know, but there are many ways of doing it. All I'm saying is that our discussion for the meantime, we're not on the rates yet. Okay? On whether or not we should incentivize paying contributors. Our membership in PhilHealth today, as earlier agreed upon, in effect, is paying and non-paying. Shouldn't you have those two packages also? Diba? May floor para sa lahat. Universal healthcare ito. As we agreed earlier in the first paragraph. Walang additional bayad pag dito ka. Floor na yun eh. But for those contributing, shouldn't they get a little more? You will be the ones who will determine that anyway. Right? And that will be dependent naman on the resources available. Let's get to that after this. On that issue, we're talking about increasing rates. That's one. Second, PCSO, PAGCOR, amendments to the syntax law. We can do that here. Hindi ba pinangako rin ni Secretary Dominguez, itaas natin yung, sugar beverage drinks. Ilagay natin sa syntax. Hindi linagay. Let's do it here. How much are we collecting sa sugar products? Kano? For 6 months, 18 billion. Hindi ba yun ang sinabi rin? Di gawin natin dito. That's what I'm saying, Once we get to that, on the rates. I think we can find ways of getting more revenue for this, as we have done already in the past. PAGCOR PCSO, that is not an executive, that came from us here, ah. Diba? Oh. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to comment that if this is going to be an increase of resources and it's tax-driven, ang problema yung sustainability. Kung tax-driven, you really are not sure whether, because as you increase taxes, like sin taxes we've seen, much reduced.
Yeah, no,
smokers.
I'm not saying that. We're not there yet. We're only here on the two benefit packages. But you will determine it anyway, yeah? And then later on, we can design it in such a way. I'm not opposed to increasing the rates to contributors. It's found in the Senate bill. From 2.75 to 3, gradually, every 2 years, 4, 5. I may not be totally opposed to increasing the 40,000. Secretary, as I discussed with you. I'm not opposed, I'm not totally against that. I'm sure we can find the middle ground. Because tax-free naman yan eh. If you increase it eh. The contributions to PhilHealth are tax-free. Okay, so I'm open to that. I'm sure we can find the middle ground. Okay? But the issue before us right now is dalawang package ba o isa?
Mr. Chair.
Ngayon, kung isa lang kasi, I may insist later on, unfair naman to the contributors. We're asking them to pay so much. Almost doubling. And hindi maliwanag what they get back in return. And you have the potential of taking away their private health insurance. Yung maliwanag, mawawala. Ito, pangako lang to. Ito, meron na akong private health insurance eh. You're gonna take that away from me, ha?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
anyway,
This is the meat naman talaga of this bill now where we are now eh. Many have been settled already, di ba? So whether or not we have to have two, and then third is, what additional revenues do you need? One is members' contribution. The other naman is, aside from PCSO and PAGCOR, yung current sin tax collection ba ngayon, nabibigay ba sa inyo o hindi?
yes, the current sin tax.
I don't think all of it as
from the
promised.
cigarette. 80 to 80.
Yeah, because I have the data here. And yung sa health facilities enhancement, di naman binibigay sa inyo eh. Ngayon, wala yun. Eh, di ibigay natin dito. Ibigay natin sa demand side muna yun.
Mr. Chair.
You wanna be creative? Part of the collection doon sa sugary drinks, lagay din natin dito. I don't mind. Oh. That's what they promised anyway. Oh. So we may be amenable to that, but you know, let's settle one issue at a time of this two benefit package system muna. Once we settle this, it will be easier to go to the next provisions. Eh. Then we'll know how to design it properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Sandita, and then probably the House would like to react.
Salamat,
Si
Mr. Chair.
Congresswoman
Actually,
Tan.
kanina pa ako naghihintay marinig yung opinion ng DOH sa isyong ito. Pero dahil sabi na, ni SEC, i-consider pa nila, at sorry, Chair, kailangan kong Sen. Ralph umalis ng Sen. Joel ng 1 for an afternoon meeting. E di, i-share ko yung pananaw ko dito. So, nandito po tayo nga sa entitlement to benefits. And I believe lahat entitled. Kasi actually lahat nagbabayad. Kaya okay sa akin yung lengguwahe ng bill na direct contributors at saka indirect contributors. Kasi kahit yung subsidized members are actually paying sa pamamagitan ng sin taxes through government na may ambag din sila doon through the indirect taxes. So, in principle, okay sa akin yung prinsipyo ng solidarity, but at the very least para sa akin, as long as mag-guarantee ang PhilHealth ng basic quality package for everyone, okay na sa akin yun. Kasi what do I get out of it? Yung pooling of risk, what I get out of it is, kahit di ako magkasakit, salamat sa Diyos, what I get out of it is yung mga dependents ko, solo mama ko, yung natitira kong menor de edad na anak, yung bunso, covered siya. And what I get out of it is an assurance na through my contribution, maybe we'll get a healthier society. So, okay sa akin yung ganyang lingwahe na direct contributors at saka indirect contributors. Yung principle sana ng solidarity, but especially because malamang alam ito ni Sen. Ralph, kahit yung labor, they're pushing for the PhilHealth Plus. Kasi idea nila, basic package, pero if they pay a little more, di na sila kailangan mag-contribute sa HMO, they get a PhilHealth Plus package. So, sa kanila, okay yon. And since they're calling for that, they've been following that up for mga half a decade, sinusuportahan ko yon. So, yun, solidarity sana, pero kung may PhilHealth Plus supported by labor, I can support that as long as yung basic package, yung quality nun is guaranteed for all dahil lahat ay nagko-contribute, whether directly or indirectly. And what everyone gets out of it is the possibility of a healthier society. Maalala ko pala, last point, Mr. Chair, kahit yung mga informal sector noon, in-encourage sila na, magbayad na kayo kasi pag kinuwenta nyo parang 7 pesos a day. So, mahal lang ng konti sa isang stick ng Yossi na nakamamatay pa. Ito, you pay a little more every day, tapos may health insurance ka. So, palagay ko, depende rin sa health promotion na gagawin ng buong universal healthcare system, mananatiling may motivation ang kahit informal sector na mag-direct contribution. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Kong Helen?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's the House position on
Yes
this.
po. Of course, we recognize the position of Honorable Recto. As I mentioned earlier, me as a paying member, which pays more, I want more benefit. But the House maintains the position on keeping the social solidarity, that everyone will have that benefit, pantay-pantay, at kung ang PhilHealth po ay may plan na magkaroon ng PhilHealth Plus benefit, just like what the HMOs are offering or private health insurance, then we'll support that. Ang concern lang ko lang po personally, sa universal healthcare, we're asking the DOH and the PhilHealth to have that comprehensive quality health care services. So gusto po natin na ma-equip lahat ng facilities. Gusto po natin na lahat ng Pilipino ay may access sa ating healthcare providers, facilities, and doctors, which I think will have a great impact on the funding. So, sa akin lang po, maibigay yung hinihingi natin, outpatient benefit, including the drugs, maibigay lahat ng facilities, and then, kung maging viable na po talaga for them that we get more, of course, yun po ang gusto natin. Ako gusto ko din po yun na I'll have an extra benefit dahil nagbabayad ako ng mas mataas. So, I don't know how can we resolve this because the benefit has something to do with the premium, the rates that we will discuss later on. So, yun po, we are in the position na magkaroon po tayo ng pantay-pantay na benepisyo at magkaroon ng PhilHealth Plus package benefit if members wanted to pay more.
I don't mind yung, alam mo, the problem with yung pantay-pantay benepisyo. So, sa Social Security, gawin na rin natin, yung hindi nagbabayad, may pension lahat. Pantay-pantay na rin lahat. There must be merit in the system also. Dapat kilalanin din natin yung nagbabayad. That's my point eh. And I'm not saying na bawasan natin anyone. No, in fact, we're looking for all the resources available for them. like I said, this issue will determine what the rates will look like moving forward. It is in the Senate version that we have the rates. Wala naman in the House yan na maliwanag in the bill. Make it clearer. Okay? So maybe at this juncture, maybe we can have a minute recess with the permission of the...
Yes. Since this is one of the more contentious issues, I hope we understood each other now. The concern of the Senate, particularly our Senate President pro tempore, is the connection might be affected. Kasi natural naman yan eh. Kasi may libre lahat eh. So, that's the concern of Senator Recto. So, probably for the House, and probably after this, we can already suspend and discuss freely so that we can have a position.
Well, on suspension siguro po, we can include in the discussion na rin the rates. No, so the benefit and the rates. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll suspend this on the part of the Senate. We suspend the session. Suspend the session.
On the part of House of Representatives, we suspend the session.